Okay, now we have our next speaker coming up. We have Mr. Andrew Supervisor, District 1. We are very happy to have you. You're going to give us an update on the homeless forum that we just had. Did anyone attend that? It was downtown Atlanta. Yeah, a lot of you were interested in it. Some of you couldn't make it, so he's going to give us an update. And he's diligently working on the homeless situation. So here is Supervisor Andrew.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Again, I'm a county supervisor, and a lot of people probably wonder what do we do and how many supervisors are there in the county. There are 5 county supervisors covering 5 districts. District 1 includes the cities of Santa Ana, Garden Grove, Westminster, about a third of the city of Fountain Valley, and an unincorporated area of Underway City. So that's a pretty big area with almost 800,000 people. And so what do? We oversee your bigger regional issues, like the healthcare agency, social services, housing, Veterans Affairs, Chattanooga Airport, the DA's office, the Sheriff's Department, so public works. So you can kind of see what we do with would be bigger, more regional projects, like flood control, the San Diego Riverhead, things like that. When you go to restaurants to eat and the health inspections and make sure everything's clean, that's run out of the health agency. So we take care of more regional issues in the county. And it's important to know that because there's always questions as far as what falls under the responsibility of the city and what falls under the responsibility of the county. So as a general rule of thumb, if it's in a city, then it will be the city responsibility, meaning they have power over it. We may have buildings in the city, but we would be tenants, residents, like people occupy the city, just like you live in the city. But ultimately, the power to police and to regulate would be the cities. The only area we would have, the county would have responsibilities over, power to regulate, like, development and all that, would be unincorporated land in the county. So, for the most part, in my district, that would be Mid-City, which is a very small pocket of land next to Westminster. Okay? So, I think Midway City has maybe 2,500 residents. So that's a very small area, and that's pretty much it. That's the only area in the first district that you would say that we have this kind of regulatory power over. So the update I want to give you tonight is this. We have heard a lot about homelessness as an issue here in the county. And I want to maybe correct some of the perceptions out there that we have like a runaway problem, right, in the county. And I want to put things in perspective for you. At any given time, we have about 4,500 people in terms of the count in time, between 4,500 and 6,000 people that will be homeless in a county of 3.2 million people. Now, where does that rank in the context of other similarly sized counties? And so, if you look at the county of Orange with almost 3 million people, or 3.2 over 3 million people, we rank number 6 in the nation. Remember that? We are the 6th largest county in the U.S. And if we were to go by population, Orange County is larger than 21 states. Okay, so think about that. And so when you take, say, the top 5 largest counties, and we compare that with Orange County, where we are, say compared to LA or compared to Chicago, we actually came in 5th of the 5 largest counties in terms of the number of homeless individuals per population. So that's something to keep in mind, that as big of a problem as we have, we actually are doing really good in terms of housing our people in the county. Now, so what we have done is in the last year and a half, in my opinion, it's historic. We started with the shelter in Anaheim. We approved it about a year ago. It's still under construction. We finally gave the contract to Mercy House to build it and run it when it becomes operational next year. But in the meantime, I pushed the CEO's office for the county, and I'm so glad that the rest of the board agree with me, to purchase the transit terminal in Santa Ana to be used as a transitional center for homeless individuals. And I walk you through why that is important. I didn't call it a homeless shelter because the approach is different from just a place where people lay down their head at night. Now, let me walk you through a little bit of the history with the transit terminal. People may say, well, why now? This is, election time. This is the ultimate electioneering tactic that you use. No. We started trying to buy this property close to a year and a half ago. At least a year ago. The transit terminal was owned by OCTA, which was purchased by OCTA using money from the federal government, the Federal Transportation Authority, FTA. And for transit purposes, obviously, OCTA, the bus, transportation authority. So years ago, they got the money to buy transit terminal to be used as a bus depot, transit purposes. So now that they're not doing it anymore, it's been vacant. It's been laying there dormant for at least 10 years that I know of. So in order to sell it to the county, they have to get approval from the FTA. And so they have to wait for DC to make their decision. And the answer back after months of waiting is, okay, we can do it. But you have to find some other project, transit project that you can use with that money, right? Because that was the grant that was used for transit purposes. So OCTA had to go out and find another project, which took them 2 or 3 more months. So now we have this switcheroo, like 3 parties. Now we got to do this dance where we have to get approval from the FTA and then get approval for the other project, and then we have to close escrow with the county all together at the same time. So that happened, and we closed escrow late April, early May of this year. And so then shortly thereafter is when I came forward with my proposal to make that the transitional center for homeless people. And so on September 6th, I made promise that we're going to have the center open and operational within 30 days. And I'm so proud that we were able to do so. Now, let's see what it is. What is it that we have in mind? The transitional center is a place where people can go in to sleep, obviously. It's a homeless shelter. But it's more than that. It is the beginning, it is the first step in getting people into the systems that we can help them. One of the things that I noticed in my work as a former DA in the county, and also I was a former public defender. I'm one of the few lawyers in the county that can say I've been both a public defender and a DA. So I've seen both sides. Okay? And I served as the chief of staff on the board of supervisors for years before that. And so what I noticed is in the county, we tend to work in isolation. I call it the silo effect. So people have to come to each department to get help individually without any coordination at all. So therefore, a homeless person without any means of transportation is expected to go to the housing office to get housing, to go to Kalakuna to get health insurance, to go to social services to get food stamp and welfare. You see how undoable that is? It's not even practicable for us who have the means, right, to be mobile. Imagine homeless people without a car and with all their belongings in the shopping cart. They can't leave that out there unattended so they can go and get help. And so we have created a system where it's made it very difficult, if not impossible, for people to get help. Now you add to that complexity, almost 60% of people who are homeless have some kind of mental health issues. And over half of the people out there have some kind of drug addiction problem. And at close to 50% also have some kind of criminal justice type of issues, whether it be drug or sex registration, being on parole, not having an open case with an active warrant so that they can't go find a job. So there's a lot of reasons for people to be out there and be homeless. And so what I did is, gaining from my experience in working in the criminal justice system, I came up with a plan. I created a position called care coordinator. That means this person is not just dealing with homelessness. is not dealing with just mental health. This person is going to coordinate the services of all of the county departments, and here's the key, and our community groups. Because we no longer work in just isolation. We have to, there are certain nonprofits, faith-based organizations that are doing great work right now. There's no need for us to exclude them from the process, right? We need to include them in as part of the community work. And we should supplement what they do or contract with them so that they do what they do best. And then we just do the stuff that we can do. So what we have is a center at the transit terminal. It's called a port repositional center. People will go in there and there's no barrier to entry. I know that because one night I went in there and I slept the night tonight. I checked in, I went undercover, I checked in myself. I had no entourage, no cop escorting me. I just walked in, barely made it to the 10 o'clock, closing time. Checked in and, oh, what's your name, sir? And then they gave me a couple of mats and a couple of blankets and I went up and I went to sleep. And so there's no barrier to entry. People can sleep there and be fed 3 square meals a day. We have a shower facility, laundry facility, obviously bathroom facility. So, these are great amenities to help people regain dignity with their life, right, their daily life. But more than that, we also have cubicles along the back wall, so that people, if they take advantage of the services that we have, the programs that we have, they get to gain to use one of these cubicles. This is a private place, so that they can stay in. It's probably about 8 by 10 space. It's not much, but you know what? It's going to make the world different to these people. And so once they're in there, if they continue to work through the programs that we offer and address the issues that they have, guess what? They get placed in permanent housing. And so what we have done over the last 2 months is we have created this center, and we have also allocated funding to create more permanent housing and also emergency housing as well. What that means is we have $22 million for people who need, in the circumstances like this, where we can put them into housing without the need of having to enter into a lease, permanent housing situation. We'll have it set up, so if we need to put people in, we can immediately. And so as they work through the program, and they work their way into permanent housing. And guess what? Within the first week, we placed 1 person in there. And last time I checked, there were 3 people already working through the system, waiting to be put into permanent housing. So in 2 weeks, we have already reached and made a difference in 4 people's lives. So that's tremendous progress. And Midnight Mission was a nonprofit that our care coordinator, Susan Price, helped us locate to bring down from LA to run the courtyard. And they've done a fabulous job. I tell you, their experience running the shelter up in LA really shows through. They just know how to be compassionate, yet firm and run a tight ship. Because you're talking about people that are probably not used to a lot of control in their life. So it's a delicate thing that we're doing. And as of 2 nights ago, the latest evening count in terms of people sleeping in there is 231 people a night. Think about that. Which is almost half of the population we have at Pacific Center in Santa Ana. Think about that. The last count was about a month ago, was 160 individuals, homeless individuals in the Civic Center in Santa Ana. We have now 231 people each night. And we're serving close to 800 meals a day. And the best thing is, up until now, serving the homeless has been kind of a random, ad hoc, fly by the seat of our pants, just whoever shows up. And it's counterproductive. Sometimes we get too much food, and then sometimes we don't have enough food. People just show up uncoordinated, and it's not efficient. So we have contracted with TDNet, so that we have been working with nonprofits, coordinating food service, so that now we have a nonprofit to take care of each meal in the week. And so that people know where they can go, and we have the place set up so that they come in. And this morning, the board, following my suggestion, passed an ordinance to waive the fee for nonprofits to get a food handling permit from the healthcare agency, so that they can come in, be trained, be educated as to the proper way to handle food and to distribute food and waive the fee for the permit as well. So we will work with the nonprofits so that we can serve food and coordinate the giving of items in a way that will be efficient and reach the most people that we can. So that's really a fantastic thing that we have going at the county. And we, among the many different mental health programs that we have at the county, we have just allocated another $425,000 to create a mobile, we call them the mobile outreach team, which includes the counselor, case managers, clinicians, to actually go out and interface with homeless individuals and actually help. And I'm so excited to announce this. This is a fantastic thing that we just got. There's a whole person care program that is being proposed by the state.
No, I just had a question for you.
Okay. And we got picked as one of the 3 counties in the state to get this grant. And it's the whole person care. So what they're doing is we get a grant for $23.5 million. And so for the population that is they consider to be at risk, and the board defined that to be, we are targeting homeless persons and persons with serious mental illness. Okay? So these are the populations that we are targeting. So if they were to go to the emergency room, then the emergency room would contact this department, and then we will send out a mobile team of mental health treatment providers. And so here's an electronic referral system, and then the nonprofit would go to the emergency room to deal with the patient, and then to provide any kind of care necessary on 24/7 basis. This is the missing link. I have always known this. If you look at a law in 5150, that's the hold for people who have mental health, acting out in crisis. The law, the system that we have right now is, okay, if someone is held 5150, they got 3 days in order to do the evaluation. And then if they get off of their crisis, then guess what? They're given a bus ticket and they just get dropped off and you go wherever. There is no follow through, no follow up. It's almost like they're set up to fail because they go out and after a few days, if they don't take their meds, and guess what? The cycle starts over. And so with this program, the whole person care program, now we have a way to follow up with people to maintain that constant contact. And so I believe that's going to work in conjunction with the wraparound services we have at the transitional center, together with permanent housing, the path to permanent housing. That's going to be the way that we're going to start chipping away at this issue of homelessness in the county. Okay. Let's see. We in the 100 days since Susan Price has been at work at the county, she has done a fabulous job in terms of setting up our courtyard transitional center. But it goes more than that. We spend close to $320 million a year on just mental health programs. That $320 million. That's the thing that drives me crazy, is that people think that we don't spend enough to deal with mental health, but we do. The problem is I don't think we spend them efficiently. And I'll give you an example. I talked to the executive director for UCI Medical Center, and I was leaving. The director said, even if I know my client, my patient, qualifies for your program, I don't know which program to put him in. And I said, impossible. You're the director of a hospital, how can you not know? He said, you have over 200 programs. 200 programs. And so I thought, well, no way, it's just exaggerating. So I went back to the healthcare agency, and guess what? It is true. So therefore, what that tells me is, we are just too redundant. We're too efficient, we are too bloated. And think about the ministerial cost of running 200 programs, of keeping track of 200 programs, right? We have to streamline the process. And Susan Price is going to help me to get in there, get around this issue, and then streamline it so that we can funnel more of the money to treating people as opposed to running programs. So I hope this gives you kind of a good overlay of our plan at the county to deal with what is a really big issue throughout our county. And I've been discussing only the Civic Center, but that's just really a small component, as you know, of homelessness. We got, people along the riverbed, we have people in pockets around the county. But we have to start somewhere, and at the end of the day, Upton has been the most visible, probably, manifestation of homelessness in the county. So we'll start there and it's closest to our office so we can kind of monitor how it's going. But we will take the lessons that we learned there and we will apply it to our county. Okay.
Okay, we have a couple of questions the residents have submitted. Number one, is the downtown homeless facility temporary? If so, when will the operations conclude?
Permanent really are kind of arbitrary terms. It is when it's indefinite, then we can call it permanent. But at the same time, is it permanent as in like we will not consider it? No. But until something better comes along, we will use it because it helps to address the problem now.
Okay. Okay, also, how can a citizen help? Who gets to sit on the board? I don't know.
Okay, I assume we have the mental health board, we have the commission to end homelessness. I'm sure we have a lot of committees at the healthcare agency. If anyone's interested in serving, I would contact my office and I will certainly help my staff to help you find out ways that you can help out.
Okay, one more question. Why don't the homeless keep a clean camp? I don't know if you can really answer that.
I can actually. You know what? That is something that we have to correct this perception too. Homeless people have a sense of identity as far as where they live, just like us. Do not ever think that somehow homeless people like in Huntington Beach will feel just as comfortable living in Fullerton. That's not true. That's their area, that's their neighborhood, they know who's there, they're comfortable there, they know the ins and outs, okay? Also, they want to keep where they live clean. When they can't do it, it's because we haven't given them an alternative. I'll give you an example, the Santa Ana Civic Center. For a long time, we heard complaints about, public urination and, all that stuff like that. What did we do? We 3 months ago, we put out there a bunch of porta potties. Even before we opened up the transit terminal, and guess what? Immediately, you can see the difference. And you start to see people cleaning up. You start to see people taking ownership of their area. And now that we have the transit terminal open, I invite you to walk down there. The problem is not solved, but I tell you what, it is very different. You can feel it, you can see it. So to me, the challenge for us is not to just look at the problem and say, how can it be better on its own? We need to help them to be able to help themselves. And the little things that we do, and I mean anything from the porta potties to putting out their, ways to charge their phones, a way to store maybe their personal belongings. For instance, eventually we're going to have a place, a facility, a way that we will store people's valuables, like IDs. Because that's the one of the things that they're most concerned about is that if they get robbed, their ID is lost and that's a big hassle in their life. Just like us, if we lose our driver's license, right? We try to work with the DOD. so things like that. If we can help them, and then over time, I believe the interaction with our staff on a more continual basis will earn that trust. That's the key to helping people, even with mental health illnesses, is that if they trust us, if they trust the sincerity that we want to help and that we're there to help, we have already solved this type of problem.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.